Let me ask you something. When was the last time you went a whole month without porn? No late night. Just one video. I'll stop after this. Just nothing. If your chest tightened, just hearing that, there's a reason. This isn't about judging you. This is about telling you something most guys in their 20s or early 30s will never hear until it's too late. Right now, pornography is hijacking the brains of millions of young men. I'm talking about rewiring your reward system, the very part of your brain that controls motivation, confidence, and your ability to form real connections. I know this because we now have mountains of neuroscience showing exactly how this works. And I also know it because I've seen it in real guys just like you. Today, we're going to break it all down. How porn addiction changes your brain, why it kills your social confidence and sabotages relationships, and most importantly, how to rewire yourself back to the man you were supposed to be. This is the truth your brain doesn't want you to hear, but your future self is begging you to. Let's talk about what porn actually does to your brain, especially if you're between 18 and 35. When you watch porn, your brain gets a massive spike of dopamine, the neurotransmitter that tells you, hey, this is important. Now, dopamine isn't bad. It's essential for survival. The problem is, online pornography isn't a normal dopamine trigger. It's a super stimulus.
When we consume high dopamine rewards in excess, our brain adapts by downregulating dopamine receptors. This means we become less sensitive to pleasure over time.
The more porn you consume, the less your brain responds to anything else, whether that's working out, talking to a girl, or chasing your career goals. You're conditioning your brain to crave novelty, constant escalation, and extreme stimulation. And here's the kicker. Unlike real-life intimacy, porn offers unlimited variety at the click of a button. New scenes, new actors, new scenarios, endless. This trains your brain to expect more novelty than reality can ever provide. And it does something else. It actually wires your reward circuit to prefer pixels over people. If you're under 25, your brain is still developing, especially the prefrontal cortex, which handles self-control, decision-making, and long-term planning. Repeated binge sessions flood your reward system before your control system is fully online. That's like giving a sports car to a teenager who hasn't even had driving lessons. A 2016 study published in JAMA Psychiatry found that frequent porn use was linked to reduced gray matter volume in the reward center of the brain and weaker connections between that center and the prefrontal cortex. That means literally less willpower and more impulsive behavior.
I started watching porn when I was 13. At first, it was just curiosity. By 19, I needed more extreme stuff just to feel anything. I tried dating, but I couldn't even stay attracted to real girls. My brain felt broken.
Ethan's story isn't rare. In fact, it's becoming the norm. We have young men reporting erectile dysfunction, not from medical issues, but from years of overstimulation by porn. Researchers call this PIED, porn-induced erectile dysfunction. Porn isn't harmless entertainment for the developing male brain. It's a drug one that can leave you with less motivation, less attraction to real partners, and less ability to control your own impulses. And if that sounds heavy, we've barely scratched the surface. When we think about porn's impact, most people stop at the brain science. But the truth is, the damage doesn't stay in your head. It shows up in your confidence, your relationships, and your ability to connect with real people. Think about this. Every time you watch porn, you're training your brain to expect a certain kind of reaction: perfect lighting, perfect bodies, perfect performance. Real life, real people, they don't work like that. The more you feed your brain this scripted fantasy, the more you start to compare real partners to it, and real people will always come up short. This is what psychologists call sexual conditioning. You're not just watching for fun, you're programming your arousal patterns. And here's the dangerous part. The brain doesn't differentiate much between what's real and what's on screen when it comes to forming habits. I've spoken to guys who tell me, I can't even make eye contact with women anymore. They're not shy by nature. What's happened is that their brain now associates attraction with a private, controlled, on-demand environment, not with messy, unpredictable human interaction.
I'd walk into a bar and feel this wall like my mind was blank. But at home, no problem. I could watch for hours. Eventually, I realized I wasn't afraid of rejection. I was afraid of reality not matching what my brain had been trained to expect.
Social anxiety, avoidance of intimacy, even feelings of shame that make you pull back from friends. These aren't personality traits, they're learned behaviors reinforced by the cycle of binge, regret, repeat.
Excessive pornography use can lead to a diminished interest in pursuing real-life sexual and romantic opportunities. In extreme cases, it can cause complete withdrawal from social life.
Porn doesn't just change how you see others, it changes how you see yourself. The industry thrives on unrealistic comparisons, physique, performance, endurance, and if you're measuring yourself against professional actors in scripted scenarios, you'll always feel like you're falling short.
I kept thinking I wasn't enough. Not tall enough, not built enough, not whatever enough. Porn made it feel like there was this impossible standard. The irony, no partner I ever had complained. It was all in my head.
Over time, this hits your confidence, and here's where it gets dangerous. Low confidence makes you less likely to approach people, which drives you back to the one place you do feel in control, the screen. That's how the cycle tightens. If you're in a relationship, chronic porn use can create a silent wedge. Your partner feels you pulling away. Maybe you're less interested. Maybe you're distracted. Maybe you're not performing like you used to. They start questioning themselves. You start hiding your habits. Trust erodes.
Couples where one partner regularly uses pornography often report lower relationship satisfaction, less intimacy, and higher rates of infidelity.
And here's the worst part. Most people don't even connect the dots. They think they've fallen out of love, when in reality, the dopamine rush from porn has been replacing the slower, deeper bonds of real intimacy. Here's something nobody wants to talk about. Porn doesn't just stay the same for most people. Over time, your brain gets used to it. What used to excite you barely moves the needle anymore. Why? It's called tolerance. When you flood your brain with high dopamine hits on demand, your receptors start to down-regulate. The same thing happens with drugs, alcohol, and yes, pornography.
Our brains are wired to adapt to pleasure. The more we bombard them with high-intensity stimulation, the less sensitive they become to that same level of stimulus.
So what do you do when the old stuff isn't enough? You search for something new, something harder, something more extreme. And this is where it gets dangerous, not because you suddenly have weird tastes, but because you're training your arousal to depend on novelty. The content isn't the addiction. The constant upgrading is.
At first, it was just casual. A couple of videos here and there. Then I started noticing I was skipping over stuff I used to like. It felt boring. Fast forward a year and I was watching things I would have sworn I'd never be into. I didn't even like it half the time. I just needed something different to feel anything.
This is called content escalation. Your brain starts chasing the shock factor to get the same dopamine release. And the problem is real relationships can't compete with that. No partner can reinvent themselves every single night to match your rewired brain.
Our research suggests that compulsive pornography users show greater reactivity to sexual novelty than to sexual familiarity, which may impair their real-life relationships.
And here's the harsh truth. Some people cross into categories they never imagined, even ones that go against their values or ethics. It's not that they've changed as a person, it's that the constant need for novelty pushes them further and further from where they started.
There were nights I'd shut the screen and just feel disgusted, not just with what I'd watched, but with myself. Like, how did I get here? It didn't even turn me on in a normal way anymore. It was just habit.
This is the trap. The more you escalate, the further real life seems from your fantasy world, and the harder it is to feel genuine attraction without a screen. You've decided to stop. You've seen the damage. You've made the choice. But within a few hours or days, something happens. You start feeling. We're not just talking about sexual urges. We're talking about mood swings, irritability, brain fog, a strange emptiness you can't shake. That's withdrawal.
Withdrawal from behavioral addictions like pornography can mimic the symptoms of substance withdrawal, restlessness, anxiety, difficulty concentrating, because they share similar neural pathways.
Your brain has been running on a high dopamine cycle for months, maybe years. When you stop, dopamine levels dip hard. It's like going from constant fireworks to total silence. That's why in the first few weeks, people feel flat. Nothing feels exciting. Music, food, even conversations all muted. Your brain needs time to reset its baseline.
The first week was brutal. I'd be fine during the day, but at night it was like my brain was screaming for it. I couldn't focus on work. I was snapping at people for no reason. And I started thinking maybe it's not worth it. Maybe I should just go back.
This is when most people relapse, not because they're weak, but because withdrawal feels like losing a part of yourself even if that part was destroying you.
In our studies, we found that the early stages of abstinence are marked by heightened cravings and decreased mood, a dangerous combination for relapse risk.
There's also something called the chaser effect. After a relapse, your brain doesn't just go back to baseline, it often pushes you to binge even more to make up for the lost time.
I used to relapse and think it's over, I failed. Now I log it, figure out what triggered it, and move on. I've gone from binging daily to once every 2 months. That's progress.
That's why understanding withdrawal is critical. If you expect it, if you know it's coming, you can prepare for it. You can survive the flatline without giving in. If withdrawal is the storm, rewiring your brain is learning to sail again. It's not about white-knuckling through urges forever. It's about building a brain that doesn't need the hit. Your brain craves stimulation. Cutting out porn leaves a gap. If you don't fill it with something better, your brain will go hunting for the old source.
The best way to reverse addiction's brain changes is to replace high dopamine, artificial rewards, with healthy, natural sources of pleasure.
That means exercise, social connection, skill building. Yes, it sounds obvious, but here's the trick. You have to do them consistently, even when they don't feel good at first.
When I quit, I started going to the gym every morning. At first, I hated it. No pump, no rush. But after a month, something shifted. My mood lifted. It wasn't the same high as porn. It was better, real.
Your triggers, the cues are everywhere. For some, it's being alone late at night. For others, it's scrolling on certain social media. You can't just hope to resist. You need a replacement routine. When the cue appears, you act immediately, walk outside, call a friend, do push-ups, anything to break the chain before it reaches the craving stage.
Cravings are like waves. They rise, peak, and fall. If you can surf that wave without acting, it passes.
Recovery isn't about perfection. It's about momentum. That means you celebrate streaks 3 days, 7 days, 30 days. But you also learn from setbacks instead of quitting. Every time you resist, you strengthen the new pathways in your brain. Over time, the old ones weaken. This is neuroplasticity in action. Quitting porn isn't the final destination. It's the starting point. Once you've broken free, you get to decide who you become. If your only goal is don't watch porn, you'll always be fighting a battle in your head. But if your goal is to become fit, skilled, confident, deeply connected, avoiding porn just becomes part of the bigger mission. For many, porn became a shortcut to fake intimacy. The antidote is building real intimacy with friends, partners, community.
When Mark quit, we actually talked more. At first it was awkward, but over time the trust came back. He was there with me, not lost in his head.
Read books, learn skills, take on challenges. Your brain loves growth, and the more it grows, the less it needs fake rewards. One of the fastest ways to stay free is to help others get free. When you teach, mentor, or support someone, you reinforce your own recovery.
I started a small group for guys who wanted to quit, helping them help me. I couldn't relapse without feeling like I was letting them down. That accountability saved me.
If you're watching this, you're already ahead of where you were yesterday. You're not broken. Your brain can heal. Your life can grow into something stronger, richer, and more connected than you ever imagined.